It's the Raw Meat Podcast, the most mediocre wrestling podcast on the internet. With the smart Greg Adams, the nature boy Jay Whatley, and the hardcore icon Puff.
It is the Raw Meat Podcast. It's Greg Adams over here and Puff over there, and Jay Whatley wandering in.
That's right, baby.
Yeah, about time you show up.
Sorry I'm late. I had a concussion.
Oh, hey.
You know what's funny? Before we started, we were saying you're like the Enzo of the group. Loud.
Yeah. Loud, risky at
obnoxious.
times. Well, I don't know about
That's
obnoxious.
actually,
Has a stupid haircut.
Really good on the mic.
There you go.
Yeah. Just like Enzo.
Sorry, I wasn't agreeing with your points.
Oh.
I was agreeing with his points. But it is the Raw Meat Podcast. This is going to be our post-Payback reaction podcast and also a little bit of a preview of what's coming up tonight on Monday Night Raw. Before we do anything, I do want to point out that my predictions were correct last night. More correct than Puff's.
All right,
therefore,
that's more...
the one prediction you got right was that the crowd would chant CM Punk's name. That's it.
Well,
actually, we lost that too.
Technically,
we had an over and under bet on how many times there'd be a CM Punk chant.
And I set it at 5, and he took the over. But then my prediction that I made was that the first one you will hear is as soon as Vince takes the mic.
Yeah.
So. But these are all predictions that we did not have on paper ahead of time, so they're only things that we can tell you about anecdotally. The results of the matches are things that we did have down on paper and published online, so we can go through those one by one.
I will say this. I did do my own predictions, and I guess you guys aren't honoring that because I got every match right.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
I guessed every match. I predicted it. I sent out that text. I didn't get that?
No.
Oh.
Did not at all. I didn't get that. Did you?
Maybe I got some of the numbers
I did
wrong.
about 5 minutes ago.
Oh, it was like 5 minutes ago.
I
so
didn't
maybe
have
it
good
was
reception, so it took a while for it to send.
And then you got all of them right, even predicting the no contest between Enzo and Cass and the Vaudevillains.
I predicted that. I just, I saw how Enzo flies around. I thought he's a good mat landing away from being concussed. So I put that one right on the head.
All right.
Kalisto was one good mat landing away from
Y'all
being
didn't get that text. I said AJ's going to win twice, but not win anything. Y'all didn't get that text?
All right, hold on. We will make our way to all of the matches and the results and our reactions to those. But first, I want to talk about two things going into the pay-per-view. And first, I want to point this out because you brought it to my attention yesterday as we were both in our own domiciles and our layers. We were watching the WWE Network getting ready for the pay-per-view, and it seemed like every single promo they had on the network all day long was about Payback, but it didn't feature anybody who was in the pay-per-view. It was all the Wyatt family. Did you catch any of this?
Well, actually, yeah, they used that as their promotional wallpapers too. If you went to their website, if you saw anything, it was all the Wyatts.
And not one showed up. I figured we at least get a promo from Bray.
That's weird. I didn't think of that until just now. But I know last night my subscription something was messed up with my subscription, so I had to resubscribe.
Oh, that was everybody's.
It was just off. So I remember being on the website last night and didn't put two and two together because they had a huge. As soon as you go to their site, the big wallpapers. Payback with the three Wyatts. It was a great picture of those three.
Yeah, everything leading up to it, all Wyatts,
it was only
all the
three
time.
Of them too, though. It wasn't the fourth one.
Some of them had all four in it, but it was just whoever was photoshopping. I know they probably put it together pre-Luke Harper injury because they got to get approvals from however many people before it hits Vince's
that's
desk.
just a mistake that you don't think would be made at that
No,
level,
and you think that it would be really hard or really easy to ripcord on that and put AJ Styles, Roman Reigns on there. That just seems easy to do.
Or just have Bray come out and cut one of his weird, mysterious promos from a rocking chair.
Yeah, he doesn't even need to come out. You can just roll that sucker on the Titantron. It doesn't take much. But what they did do was refer to this as the first pay-per-view of a new era. Now, there are a couple of ways to look at this because we have had little stories here and there popping up over the last 2 weeks, whether it's from Linda McMahon, John Cena, some of the other high-end folks when it comes to decision-making within the WWE organization talking about the return to the Attitude Era. They want blood back. They want more of a distance from the PG-13. And I don't know if this is just the natural swing of the pendulum or if something's actually being definitively planned. But last night they said new era so many times, and we had changes to one of the matchups where they had no countouts, no DQs added.
Attitude Era rules.
Attitude
Not
Era.
to mention during Vince's promo, he's like, hell, my favorite era is the Attitude Era, and this is a new era. And he was talking about slitting throats and blood. And
Yeah,
He did say that. That was very weird.
we're just a few months removed from.
I want you two to murder each other.
Yeah.
I want you to kill each other.
We're just a few months removed from Vince dropping a big old F-bomb in the
Yeah,
middle of the
you're right
ring.
about that.
So we could honestly be at the doorstep of a new era, which is something we've all asked for, but I don't necessarily trust that new era right now. And I don't want this to be me piling on, and I know you're being rays of sunshine for some reason, and you really, I don't know that you have a care one way or another which direction they go, because Sting's not involved right now.
Oh, he'll be involved. You better believe that.
But I don't want to
era.
be just one of those guys who keeps piling on
Concussion
WWE
era.
and the lack of direction. But that's really all I've got right now, is that we saw a Shane, Stephanie, and Vince promo that had no build-up, that had no justification, had no reasoning behind it, and then the results of it are still not logical. Like, okay, well, I can't decide between the two of you. I want you to slit each other's throats and run it together. Like,
See you later.
wait, what?
well, what's going to happen is they're going to hate each other so much, and there's just going to be so much turmoil.
But see, you say that, and after that promo last night, there was no hatred between those two. Hell, Shane McMahon held the rope so she could get out. They shook hands.
Of course, they played
I don't
nice
know.
for one
I
night,
think
and then
they're
all
good.
hell
No,
breaks
I don't
loose.
know.
I it not because it's not a good idea, but the story is not being told well. It's just not coming together in the way you would want this story. And we're looking at it from the pro wrestling mentality, where when I see the handshake, I don't take it as like, oh, that's a positive handshake. That was an old school wrestling, stick your hand out, wait a little while, then shake hands. Almost like you waited for the pull-in at the end, like to see that happen.
Oh, I was expecting a slap. I was very surprised that she didn't just slap him.
Well, we have to wait and see what's going to happen tonight.
They
which
went
we
off the air though with them two being cool. They're like, I think this is gonna work.
I don't think
It
they
was
were
more
being
like patronizing. Like,
Yeah.
Hey, great idea,
I don't know.
jackass.
Well, because it felt like the way that they wanted it to come off was that Steph came up with the idea, and it sounded like Shane stole the idea right in front of her, and then Vince gave him the credit for the idea she came up with. That's how it felt like it was supposed to be written, but it was just executed poorly.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because
Don't be a
Shane.
brand split.
That's what I was hoping. That's what I
Don't
thought
be a
we were
brand
going to see.
split.
Terrible idea.
Oh,
They're
no.
gonna stretch it out just like they stretched out that hour-long Vince promo last night.
Well, they had to.
I
Because,
know. I said one more match and an hour to go. Look, brand split is coming, bro.
I am on board with that, and I think that
I hate both of you.
whatever the infusion of new talent they have, and they still have all the guys on the roster, they have enough talent right now to do a brand split.
Hashtag ditch the dinosaurs.
No, hey, some of those guys can still go.
Yeah.
And I'm
Ditch
not
'em.
talking. I'm not talking
So
about the
ditch
part timers.
Chris Jericho.
Yes.
Whoa,
Yeah,
time out,
easy.
time out. Hold on. You
Easy.
just said ditch Chris Jericho.
I did.
Said it out loud.
All right, explain.
Hey, what was the point of that match last night?
What was the point of any of the matches last night?
Well, the AJ and
What good
Roman
though
had-
does ditching Chris Jericho do?
Yeah, you're in too deep right now.
good?
Well, you just get the old ripcord on all the old bastards.
No.
Put
Not
the new
all.
people in prime
Jericho,
spots.
man, stop changing the subject. Why? What good comes from eliminating Chris Jericho if he's willing to work that schedule?
He's not willing to. He's going to go back to Fozzy in a matter of weeks. Well, you know what? Extreme Rules is 3 weeks away, so maybe he's got one more.
Though I am very concerned about your about face right now, I'm equally as concerned about yours. You're defending Chris Jericho being on the roster.
No, I'm not. I don't like Chris Jericho because you think that Chris Jericho has a better wrestling legacy than Sting, which is just silly and dumb. My hatred for Chris Jericho comes directly from your love for Chris Jericho.
I'm just saying, 6-time world champion, first
Yada, yada, yada,
first
yada, yada.
undisputed, unified world champion
All right.
ever.
Here's the only
Time
answer.
IC
Here's the
champion.
only question that you have to answer then when comparing the two legacies. All right, here we go. Could Chris Jericho at any point in time carry an entire company for over a year without saying a word?
Now, if he has
No.
5 to 6 Hall of Famers actually carrying the
Oh,
show,
I'm
and
so
he only
mad at
has to
you.
show up for 30 seconds.
No chance. He didn't have that type of. He could never do that. He could, even if he had that, he couldn't do it. If
We're
Chris
getting off topic here.
No,
Yeah,
we're-
okay,
So
we
why
are-
would you ditch him?
Just get rid of all the old bastards.
I think especially if
we
you're
don't
doing
need
a brand
Brock
split.
Lesnar around anymore.
Oh, my God.
I said I'm not talking about the part-timers. I mean the guys who are there day in and day out, and guys that I otherwise would have. Hell, you brought it up yesterday. Was Zack Ryder's 9th anniversary, or was it 7th? 9th, somewhere in that range. He's almost been there for a decade, and I'm not considering ditching Zack Ryder in any way. He would be possibly a dinosaur in your definition.
No, he's under 10. He's under 10.
Oh, so 10 is so a year from now if they've got if
he's not working full time, which he's not now. I mean, when was the last time he was on TV?
So you mean dinosaurs within the brand as well? Because also by that logic, you're taking out AJ Styles, yeah?
He's only been there for a year.
He's been wrestling for over 10, though.
4 months.
He's been wrestling for a long time.
Not in the WWE, though.
Oh, okay.
So the clock starts ticking at WWE.
Yeah, so Sting,
All right.
Sting still has 9 years.
I don't like this conversation
Sting doesn't
anymore.
have 3 weeks.
Sting has 9 years to wrestle for WWE, then you'll like him.
Yeah. If he can get in the ring and actually perform.
He can.
All right. I am so over this conversation right now. Let's get into the results of last night. We will start with the pre-show, and actually I'm going to go out of order because I just want to get this one out of there. Baron Corbin, Dolph Ziggler. There was nothing.
Mess.
Nothing that I walked away from that match saying this show is now better for this having happened. And
Probably the reason they moved it to the pre-show.
Well, they also have such a lack of keeping these storylines going back to the Steph and Shane argument. None of these storylines are cohesive. None of them make sense. Nothing in this matchup matters, and it doesn't make any sense. Dolph Ziggler did get the win, though, and
That was the best part.
in our predictions, we both lost. So that's probably your best part, is that both of us lost. The other
We all know I would have picked Dolph Ziggler. We can agree on that one,
no,
right?
we can't. The other pre-show match involved the pre-show stopper Ryback taking on Kalisto, and I know your favorite part of this, Puff, was the fact that Kalisto almost died again.
Well, I never thought I would say this during my time watching professional wrestling, but thank God for Ryback. Because if it was anyone else in that match during that spot, Kalisto would have been dead right in the hospital room right next to Enzo.
Well, I don't think they give you a hospital room if you're dead, but he comes off the top rope on one of those spots and does the little jackknife twirl thing and clips the rope. He didn't get far enough away to actually be able to hit the spot, so he ends up falling
Head first towards the apron.
and you actually had to have Ryback take a step in to catch him, and if it's anybody else, anybody who weighs less than 275, you might have a splat on the ground because that's...
He caught him like a football, brought him into his chest, and then fell down. That was, last night, in all honesty, was the most impressive match I've ever seen out of Ryback.
And he got some legit cheap heat right off the bat, too, because he comes out, I don't know if you were tuned in yet, he comes out not 10 seconds from stepping out from behind the light screen. He hits CM Punk's intro.
It's clobbering time.
He hits the clobbering time, gets down on the ground, does the whole thing with the watch and everything, and the crowd just caves in on him full bore.
Yes.
But there's something deeper that I didn't think about until after the fact. Who was it that CM Punk said hurt him to the point of almost ending his career?
Well, and he was like, hey, are you retarded? Because you just completely blew a spot. Either you did it on purpose or you're dumb. And according to CM Punk's story, Ryback raised his hand and went, I'm dumb.
Yeah. So the guy that gets thrown under the bus by CM Punk comes out in CM Punk's hometown and hits CM Punk's intro. That's some amazing stuff.
And kept on crossing his arms and doing other taunts from CM Punk's repertoire.
To me, is the evolution of Ryback. If Ryback just comes out and becomes the biggest jerk in the world, there's something there. But it doesn't matter because Kalisto still wins, and that belt is still on Botchamania Senior, and I don't know why.
Oh.
Again, storyline.
Here's why. When he wins, even on the pre-show, look at that crowd.
No, the crowd
They
doesn't
love
matter.
him.
The crowd does not matter.
Everyone loves him except for you two.
You cannot say that the crowd matters because the biggest boos of the night, start to finish, and he put on an amazing match. We'll get to that. Hold on, but the crowd doesn't matter.
Crowd does matter.
Crowd doesn't matter.
He is still over and over in a big, big way, and they're keeping the belt on that.
The belt will come off between now and Extreme Rules.
On to who? Not Ryback. They're done, right?
I don't. No. Why are they done?
Because they've already wrestled twice.
Doesn't matter.
Three times, but that doesn't
three
matter.
times they've been on the pre-show. None of it matters.
It matters. Yeah.
None of this story matters. They'll fight again.
No,
they'll
they
fight
won't.
again, and it'll probably be tonight. And then Ryback will probably take the belt tonight. Who the hell knows? I mean, Zack Ryder could show up and take the U.S. Championship tonight.
John
I'd be okay
Cena
with that.
back to reclaim his belt?
Not until Memorial
You want
Day.
to see a Kalisto-Cena match.
I honestly would rather the belt be on John Cena than on Kalisto right now.
I'd rather the belt be on the friggin'
Chris
Brooklyn
Jericho?
Brawler.
Hey, Jericho would bring legitimacy to the belt.
There
I
you
would
go.
enjoy that. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, the match that wouldn't end, which brought so much joy. That was actually the showstopper. Even though the headlining match was interesting and long and had some great spots, the show was stolen last night by Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens.
Well, it's kind of like the same way Peter Griffin fighting the chicken steals Family Guy. It may not be the best spot, but it's the most entertaining spot.
And the match itself was great. It contained all of your standard greatest hits from a Kevin Owens El Generico match. And then the post-match confrontation was great, too. There's not really much that we can expand on here except for just saying that I'm happy Kevin Owens is establishing himself back in the Intercontinental title run.
And on the broadcast team.
And the broadcast team. That was incredible. Chris Jericho, Dean Ambrose, we've touched on it a little bit.
Dean Ambrose winning a big match, though. What?
But it
didn't feel like a big
Yeah,
match.
but it
No.
was. Then he won. He went over. Well, how many times does that happen?
How many times?
How many times does Dean Ambrose win over on a pay-per-view?
Quite a bit pre-WrestleMania.
I can't think of one time.
Well,
The
okay,
IC
'cause-
champion for a while.
All right, now technically they were putting him in like 3-man matches with
Yeah.
Roman Reigns, who can't be beat. So that doesn't necessarily count. But and now, like post-match, you've got Jericho bumping his gums on Twitter, basically telegraphing that this rivalry will be extended. So we're gonna see
Puff.
probably another one of those.
I love Jericho. Don't get me wrong. I love Chris Jericho. I just think it's time for him to either get in shape or move on.
Wear pants.
Wow.
No,
know-
we talked about that last night. I think pants would make him look worse.
Yeah, pants are probably not
no
going to
one
help
wants
right
to see
now.
those loose thighs bouncing around in there. Look,
See-
when he came to Shreveport, we saw him live. It was just he just looked bad.
See, now the knee braces that he's wearing are so close to the trunks that there's not really much meat to see there.
No.
It's actually the midsection.
He's wearing Stone Cold.
Yeah.
I told him he needs to go like fat guy at the beach and wear a T-shirt.
I don't like that idea either. Jericho is what we're going to get, and we're just going to have to deal with it. I'm fine as long as he keeps getting on the mic and keeps wearing the scarves, because that is such good material for Ambrose to go off right now. The thing that is still trending worldwide, though, is
The Chicago screw job.
no, actually, that didn't trend at all,
Oh,
because here's the
man.
thing: nobody cared.
Oh no, we cared.
No, nobody really cared. The thing that is still trending is the name Enzo.
Oh, yeah.
Enzo Amore and Big Cass taking on the Vaudevillains in the finals of the Tag Team #1 Contenders tournament sponsored by Bootios.
They make sure you ain't booty.
You got to have more conviction next time.
They make sure you ain't booty.
All right, that's borderline.
They
Yeah.
rocks.
So Enzo Amore takes a rope to the dome and then
Well, that
slams
was the
his
most
head.
awkward thing too. Like I don't.
It's a
Baseball
baseball slide,
slides.
and baseball slides at this point, I would rather see Texas pile drivers than baseball slides right now,
Yeah.
because baseball slides have done in so many people over the last 2 years.
Ruined Neville's shot at the IC belt.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was nasty.
well,
That was that's actually when that hit on Twitter, and I saw Enzo trending, and I clicked it and I saw exactly what happened. That's the only reason I watched the rest of the pay per view.
really?
Yeah, I wasn't even watching it,
Wow.
and then that happened, and I was like, man, I gotta watch.
And you're sitting in here right now on a wrestling podcast saying
Yeah.
that you weren't going to watch the pay-per-view.
No,
until
I
you
was
saw
gonna
it.
watch. I was gonna wait till I got in today. Before we did this. Look, I got 2 girls, man. I've been out of town all week. All right, I ain't got time. But I had time after that.
You made time.
You darn right I did.
All right, so Enzo looked like he was dead. I mean, that
Well, it took the crowd out of the game for, what, 3-4 matches until Vince
Yeah.
showed up?
Yeah, that was just nasty.
But what we can say is that Enzo and Kevin Owens and everybody was tweeting last night after the fact. He was cleared to leave the hospital. So he was diagnosed with a concussion.
And they also said that he was able to remember the entire match and knew exactly what happened, so that's always a good sign. Now he's got to go through WWE concussion protocol, which could be a week or 8 weeks or God knows how long.
Retirement.
I don't think we're going to push it that far because this wasn't the kind of it almost was more of a, and this is from my football days, it was like a seeing stars concussion, not a blackout concussion. And there are definite differences between the two.
Ask McFoley.
When you catch it on the back of your head, which actually, knowing that he remembers everything and that his eyes were open and everything, it was probably the mat contact that gave him the concussion, because when that happens, that's your vision in the back of your head. So he probably went full seeing stars. And that's probably why the doctors released him, too. They didn't keep him overnight. They released him in the middle of the night. So we could see maybe a week or two. But I said earlier 6-week minimum just because of what we have seen out of the WWE concussion protocol in recent memory.
Well, keeping Daniel Bryan out for having a lesion on his brain.
Well, we thought that it was ridiculous at that time. After the fact, finding out what Daniel Bryan was going through makes it way more understandable for why they kept him out so long.
Well, hey, what about that dumb vaudevillain not fully understanding what had just happened and trying to yank on him and pick him up?
I don't blame him.
What if he had a broken neck?
Well, here's why I don't blame him. You don't know if Enzo is selling that well.
Well, the ref is right there. The ref had been there for 20 seconds.
No, the ref hadn't fully comprehended.
Oh,
See,
man.
if you're going to blame anybody, you blame the ref.
Yeah.
He should have threw up the X as soon as he realized. But he was in there checking the hands, and then he backed off a little bit.
He's
and was looking
yanking on
around.
his head, man.
But again, I don't think that the ref even fully understood, because from every video angle that I've seen, Enzo's eyes were open. Which
they were crossed, but they were open.
If he's on the ground with his eyes open and he's just laying there, you don't know at that moment if he's selling or not. So I want to know why he didn't throw the X up right away.
Well, if you notice, you and I noticed this last night. They had a lot of new faces in the ring.
Yeah, they did. There were a lot of new
I can't
officials.
remember who the ref was for that particular match, but there was a lot of new faces in a lot of big matches.
So that could have just been inexperience.
He realized really quickly, though. I mean, that's when you knew it was dead serious, when he was yanking on a little bit.
Well, you can also tell that everybody around it didn't fully get it either.
We watched a live stream from Kofi, because Kofi was live streaming the whole thing from right there on their beanbag chairs. And they were even like, "Big Cass, go get your boy. What are you doing, man? You supposed to whoop some ass."
Yeah.
And that's when they put the camera down, and all of a sudden it went from smack talking and eating pizza to dead silence.
Well, you could tell how the announce team was reacting, and they actually did a pretty good job walking their way through it.
Great.
But here's the other thing. They didn't ring the bell right away. Like, he throws up the X, the black shirts come in, the bell doesn't ring yet. So there was so many people who were caught off guard and not expecting. This is probably the moment where WWE steps in. They've done so much behind the scenes as far as concussions go, but clearly it hasn't made its way to the in-ring performers. Like, there has not been a drill, apparently, where these guys say, okay, when this happens, we need to do this, this, and this right away. Because the black shirts and the medical staff, they were aware of what was going on and what needed to be done, but the rest of the performers involved, no idea.
The guy that's supposed to organize all that had no clue.
Yeah, that was wild.
But we also walk away from it not knowing how that one gets scored, because that's the most unfortunate place for that type of ending to happen. It was at the end of a tournament.
Yeah.
It was supposed to, there's an actual storyline. Of all of the other storylines that we're complaining about not knowing what's going on, we knew 100% what the storyline was.
And also,
here.
you know that Enzo and Cass were to win that match, because that's the reason they called it off. Just how long ago was Kalisto and Sin Cara, where Kalisto got hurt, and instead of calling that match, because he was fake hurt, they wanted, I guess, to stay looking strong and not botching anything. So they had that match finished 2-on-1. Why not do it then?
Well, because that one was, I mean, that's
Kalisto
easier.
didn't require a stretcher.
Yeah, that one's also
but I
easier.
mean, he was out for the rest of the match. I'm saying, then they lost that match. Clearly, Enzo and Cass were supposed to win that match, and they didn't know.
I don't know that you can say clearly, because when it's that type of emergency medical situation, when they know that
and they're not in control over it,
and they didn't know how bad he was
He could have
hurt.
broke his neck. He could have did.
that's what I thought.
You couldn't keep the rest of that match going. under those circumstances. But now we'll have to wait to find out
Kaz
tonight.
is crying on the side, man.
Yeah, it got somber, it got serious,
It got
really
real
freaking quick.
and kind of brought the whole pay-per-view down. I felt bad for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn having to follow that.
Yeah, which they did get the crowd into it a little bit, but can you imagine that crowd if that match, if we saw a fantastic 15-minute finish between Vaudevillains and Enzo and Cass, and then we would have gotten that Kevin Owens Sami Zayn match afterwards, that the crowd would have been foaming at the mouth. But unfortunately, we have to deal with a real serious situation, which thankfully has been not as serious post-tense. But at the time, it was somber. Took the wind out of everyone's sails. And I would have been interested to see how the Women's Championship screw job would have had a reaction, what kind of reaction that would have had if we didn't have the levity of the Enzo injury already take place. Because Charles Robinson, of all of the faces in the stripes that you didn't know, you had one of the most well-known officials in the ring for that match, and there's no context to what happened. You got to see this end, right?
Yeah.
So Charlotte, Natalya, along with Ric Flair and Bret Hart, come out with what should have been one of the best feel-good moments of the night, and you end up with one of the most confusing finishes of all time.
And it was a great match until the terrible finish.
It was a very good match, very good spots. For some reason, Natalya and Charlotte bring out the best in each other. They have great knockdown, drag-out fights, and then you end up with the weirdest screw job that I think this was even weirder than the actual Montreal screw job, because there was context to that. People in and around knew what was going on.
Well, and why it, quote unquote, had to happen.
So this one, though, has no context to it whatsoever, outside of the fact that Bret Hart's at ringside, so we're going to do a screw job. Yeah. Like, how do you have to feel about that if you're Bret Hart?
How do you have to... Bret hates the WWE. He says, well, I'm just being critical because, certain things need... I praise these people, but Bret hates the WWE, which is why he doesn't have a Legends contract. He never... You finally get the guy to show up, and then you do that.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to give you the... You're going to go over by putting Ric Flair in a sharpshooter.
But we're going to bring up the worst part of your entire career.
The whole reason you hate us. We're going to relive that moment right here in Chicago. Thanks for coming, Bret.
Bad choice.
I think that was the most disrespectful thing you could have done to a WWE legend.
How would he be? How is he on board with it, though? Surely he had to approve it, yeah?
Well,
Yeah.
you would think, but...
He's not under contract. If Natty agrees to it and is like, hey, we're going to do this.
Yeah, I'm saying for
and
him to
you wanna
show up, though, yeah.
I mean, if you want to support your family, you'll do some terrible things to support your family.
But in a lot of cases, too, those decisions aren't made. I mean, results of matches aren't made until day of. So he could have been in the building. And we talked about watching him come out. He did not look like a happy man.
No. In fact, at one point, he tried to get the crowd behind Natalya, and he just gave up. He's
for like 10 seconds. It almost looked more like you had said. I think the quote was, "Oh, he remembered he's on camera." So he tried to fake getting the crowd up, and then just didn't really care.
As soon as the camera started cutting away,
He show up on Raw tonight?
God, I hope so. Just so he could save some sort of...
Go on a big Bret Hart promo, just going nuts on the WWE for that crap.
Yeah, see, that would,
No.
kick the storyline in.
No, I don't.
Set up an Extreme Rules match where it's no DQ or something.
I don't think that he shows up tonight. I really don't.
I don't think he will. I just hope he will. Because I hate that to be, a lot of people, a lot of younger kids are just getting it, like your kids. Don't really know a whole lot about Bret Hart.
Except for that young one.
And that is your introduction to Bret Hart. That's a terrible way to be introduced to such a great man, and it was a horrible situation. I was disappointed in the WWE for that.
Again, storyline. Where is, if you had an idea, what storyline were we given leading up to this? The storyline that we were provided with, bringing Dr. Phil in, having all of the Ric Flair, Charlotte, you are better than him, you can't do what he does, you can't be a villain kind of thing. and then we're given this?
Well, maybe tonight Charlotte comes out and be like, look, my dad paid off Charles Robinson. We're
Little
done.
Nate.
So
Little Nate. Does he come back? You remember when Charles Robinson? Do y'all even know what I'm talking
yes.
about? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great, huh? Little Nate
So
makes a return?
I mean, you can make it a good story. I just hate that they even contemplated it, put it on paper, and then executed it any way whatsoever. Unless Bret Hart and Natty come out on top by the end of this, I'm still going to be pissed at the WWE.
They have one option right now to bring this story back to where they were, and that's the whole idea that you tie together Ric Flair and Charles Robinson in some kind of elaborate collusion conspiracy, and then maybe that makes sense. And we are due at this point for this whole new era idea. If this is really going to be a new era, one of those belts is on the line tonight, and one of those belts changes hands tonight. And maybe it's the women's championship. Maybe somehow Natalya convinces everybody that she deserves the rematch. I mean, this is maybe the Shane factor.
Man, Bret Hart comes out, cuts a scathing promo. Shane comes out and agrees with him. Oh, it's going to be beautiful.
Maybe that's the play if Bret Hart does show up.
Like I said, if Bret ends up going over in the end, I'll feel better about it. But right now, not a happy camper.
I was not happy to see Ric Flair in a sharpshooter. That was just nasty.
Did that just make you uncomfortable thinking his hip was about to snap?
Yeah, it was just nasty
Especially
looking.
Considering he just injured himself in a hotel bar or airport bar.
I actually didn't feel as bad for Ric Flair as I did for Bret Hart, because Bret Hart looked like he was working hard to step through that thing.
Well, you're trying to step through a 60 or how old is Ric Flair now?
God, I don't know.
Who's stiff as a board. He has a hard time walking down to the. Plus, Bret's got his own health issues. It was just a bad idea.
Yeah, I didn't like that spot. We do have two more matches, both championships. Intercontinental Championship, Miz and Cesaro. It was. I mean, it's as good of a match as you're going to get out of the Miz. He does much better work on the mic than he does in the ring these days. I really, this is one of the moments, though, where I do want to point out how offended I am when somebody hits their finisher and somebody kicks out.
Hate it, man. Just hate it.
The whole idea is that you build up these moves to where they're telegraphed, like the whole crowd gets into it. When they see it coming, they get excited for it. And then you hit it, and the reason that you got excited for it, especially with Miz's finisher, it's not that athletically impressive. So it's not something that if you see it 2 or 3 times, you're going to be excited every time you see it. It's very simplistic, and the only thing that gives it any kind of oomph behind it is that you expect the match to be over. So he hits the skull-crushing finale, only to have Cesaro kick out. A very injured Cesaro. They've made that very well known at this point. Look how hurt he is. Look at his shoulder. We're still going to tape it up. We're still going to run it into a ring post. And then he's going to kick out from the finisher. Like, I just don't.
Well, yeah, and then it was multiplied by 10 in the main event. I mean, how many finishers did you see in the AJ Styles Roman Reigns match?
And that's,
I hated it. If I saw one more phenomenal elbow, I was going to turn off the TV.
That's not really a finisher.
I'm not saying it is a finisher, but I'm saying you don't want to see it 6 times.
I agreed.
Yeah, now when it's a move that actually takes that kind of athletic, that looks good, like he gets 20 feet in the air and contorts his body and brings it down, that's different. Like, I could watch that move 15 times in a match just because it's...
And the way variations he hit it, but...
because it's interesting every time. Where, like, the Miz, it's like a leg sweep face buster. Like, it doesn't really, like, oh, wow, oh, that was so incredible.
The name's way catchier than the move.
Substantially. And it's not even like it's a stunner where, like, a Stone Cold stunner, Stone Cold could drop 13 stunners in the ring and you were excited about each one, not because of the move itself, but the sell. The guys who were good at selling that, like when Rock took a good one or when Triple H took a good one.
What about the one the Rock hit at Mania, and he hit it, and he hit such a great sell that Stone Cold was laughing in the ring when he saw it.
Speaking of which, today is happy birthday, Rock. Rock's
really?
birthday.
Wow.
Yeah, so since we're talking about the Rock, just pepper that in there.
Let's see, reverse aging. He's like the Benjamin Button of pro wrestling. What is he? He's probably like 49 years old, but he looks like he's 24.
I think he's 46.
Whatever. It's still
close enough.
Ridiculous.
He's a dinosaur, though, right, Puff? So get him out.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Don't have him in the ring.
Get him
I
out.
enjoy Rock coming out for his yearly promo.
His 6-second match at WrestleMania.
He went over, though.
Oh, man. All right. So, Miz Cesaro, the biggest thing about this match had nothing to do with the match itself. It was
Kevin Owens on commentary wearing JBL's hat. And then the subsequent fight with the
Sami Zayn fight with Kevin Owens that got into the ring somehow. And then the fact that Kevin Owens established himself yet again as a major player for the Intercontinental Championship.
And you know what? Miz ran out of the ring with his tail tucked between his legs when Kevin Owens started whooping ass. Kevin still has the belt.
I wonder if they're going to play that whole I stole the belt thing, or if somehow it's going to get back to him. But and this is sort of where we left off last week with the whole, like, these are the guys that are established going for this belt. These are the guys established going for this one. When you look at Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens and Cesaro and The Miz all in that mix for an IC championship, that makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. And if you find a way to actually strategically place those guys in a way where, like, right now we know that The Miz is on top, Cesaro is number one contender, but now he's been beat, and now you have Kevin Owens jumping in there. Is he immediately the number one contender? You simply have a match now between Kevin Owens and Cesaro to establish a number one contender and move forward that way. You still maybe have an argument for Zack Ryder mixing his way back in.
KO comes in, wins the title tonight, and that'll set up Sami Zayn and KO for the IC at Extreme Rules.
Which maybe we can get a ladder match, and maybe we can somehow convince somebody at WWE to let Sami Zayn put the mask back on. That's all I want. All right, so the final match is Roman Reigns versus AJ Styles, WWE Heavyweight Championship. Now, before we really get into this, let's do one last thing on predictions here, because as we go through the predictions, we knew that Puff and I had agreed on everything except for 3 matches, so it became a best out of 3. And our disagreements were the Kalisto-Ryback match, where I took Kalisto to retain.
Naturally.
And Kalisto retained, so I had that one.
Stupid.
Going into the Women's Championship match, which they positioned late enough in the pay-per-view that we were still in competition up to that point, I had taken Charlotte. You had taken Natalya.
And she would have won if it wasn't for that pesky Charles Robinson.
So I get the screwjob victory. And that gives me right away. We knew the victory had happened. We knew that I had won. However,
I would have won by 4 or 5 predictions.
Here's what we did not anticipate: is that there would be a total of 3 endings in the championship match.
Yeah.
So every time that AJ Styles won via disqualification, Puff now added a victory into the column versus me. So once the 2 disqualifications happened, all of a sudden we are on equal footing now.
Yes.
We went from
naturally, it makes sense though, right? Like, you don't dispute it.
No, I don't.
He won twice.
He won twice, and so
I came this close.
So then it all of a sudden went from me having a clear victory to now us being tied midway through this match, and we had to wait until the final where Roman Reigns retains the belt, because why? The fans don't matter. So Roman Reigns has the belt. The fans hate it. AJ Styles kind of has a team, maybe.
I don't know what that was all about. I mean, this whole time I'm thinking the only ending out of this Roman Reigns AJ Styles beef is AJ Styles beef with the Bullet Club. That's it. And he did not care in any way that they came in last night. I thought they would run in and he would, like, put an end to it. He didn't.
What was the okay? They run in, and you've already had Stephanie come out and establish this is a no DQ match. Anything goes. Literally anything goes. Those 2 could have been in the ring, hit 2 boots of doom and a magic killer, and held everybody out and let AJ Styles just lay on top of Roman Reigns and win the belt. They didn't do that, though. They hit one. They didn't help AJ Styles back into the ring. Mm-mm. They didn't do anything in a realistic manner that would have...
Well, unless you're not trying to make your friend angry, so you slip in behind him, or when he's down, slip out, try to... Hey, he just fell and hit his head on the steps.
This boils down to the same problem that I had.
Because they used to do that all the time in New Japan, was slip in when no one was paying attention, including the ref and their Bullet Club member they were helping out, nail some folks, and then get the hell out of Dodge before anyone knows what
But we
happened.
don't have the Bullet Club. We don't have anything right now. We have
I'll tell you what you have. You have a main event on Raw, a 6-man tag match. You count on that. That's what you got.
You know what? I'll be like the other 1.5 million people who turn Raw off by hour 3, and I will just not be watching because none of it matters. If they want people to watch all the way through Raw, if you want 3 hours of watching through Raw, tonight what you see is... To kick everything off and to get everybody interested, you have to have one of the big promos from either a McMahon. A McMahon has to be involved in the opening promo, or
it's going to be one of them comes out to cut a promo, and then the other one's going to come out to interrupt, and then all hell's going to break loose.
That would be fine because that would set the tone and get everybody interested. If you're not going to do that right off the bat, New Day comes out to open because that's going to get everybody interested and hyped, and that's going to start the text messages of, oh, New Day's on right now, you better tune in.
Trap Queens.
Because that's what you want to kick it off. Then you need something at the top of the second hour that establishes whatever's going to happen in that second hour or a new stipulation added to the third. And this is basically my brain trying to book Raw based on what was successful in the 90s with the Attitude Era.
Yeah, but that would never work because you're good at booking. So take everything you have and throw it out of the window because none of that will happen.
But if they want to get to this new era, if they want people to watch for all 3 hours, if they want to get the ratings up, if they actually care about any of that stuff, one of these belts has to be on the line at the end of hour 3.
No chance.
Something that makes you interested in what's going to happen at the end. It needs to be a factor of you can't come in the next day and do exactly what you planned on. You cannot have a show where your intent is, I'll just watch tomorrow morning. I'll just watch the highlights online tomorrow. You have to have a moment at the end of that event during that show that everyone is going to talk about, and you have to have something that's going to create people texting and posting online. That's why great shows like The Walking Dead or Game of Thrones have 1 or 2 reveals throughout the show, but then they have a big reveal or a cliffhanger at the end. He's not dead. Sorry I spoiled that for everybody, but he's not dead. Game of Thrones reference. So
see, now you had to. If you had just left, he's not dead.
Whatever. I spoiled it for everybody. The internet took care of that. Whatever. But you have to have the illusion that you don't know what's going to happen and that it matters. And those are the two things that are lacking right now because, like you just said, you laid out what is realistically the main event for
Raw will
Raw.
go off the air tonight with that match. The Usos and Reigns against AJ Styles and the Bullet Club.
Oh, by the way,
No
breaking update on me saying Jericho's going bye-bye.
Oh, God.
He just tweeted out, thanks at WWE. It's been real. See you next time.
No way.
I can show it to you right here.
Yeah, Finn Balor said see you Monday, too.
Yeah, so I wonder if Jericho is just taking a page out of the Finn Balor playbook. Now, that is something for tonight's Raw because we've done a good job recapping, I think, what happened last night.
We've only been going for an hour.
Wow, really already? That's cool. But here's the thing that I'm looking forward to tonight is either clarity on what is already established, which is all I've been asking for the last 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years. Clarity on what is already established or new storylines that maybe can be cohesive from the beginning all the way through, which would involve Finn Balor showing up. Who in this room right now thinks Finn Balor shows up tonight on Raw?
No.
Nobody?
Nope.
Nobody thinks Finn Balor shows up.
Well, just because he posted a picture from another country this morning.
Well, either way, 0 out of 3. I don't think he shows up either, which now makes this whole Bullet Club idea less and less of happening.
Well, there's a pay-per-view 3 weeks away. Finn hurt his shoulder, which is why he's taking a vacation in Ireland. Let him get his rest, come back to finish the tapings for NXT, and then you show up the week before. Or
no, I don't think that happens because if you're going to delay him, if you're going to wait, they've got all those overseas NXT shows in June, Download Festival and everything that comes after that. If we don't see Finn Balor tonight, we don't see Finn Balor this summer, maybe SummerSlam.
Well, the only big match he's scheduled for is at the next TakeOver. Like I said, he could show up, work the main roster, go do the NXT TakeOver after they get done filming for the show in a couple of weeks, and be done with it.
All right. As we wrap, I just want to present this one question to see if you guys have any thoughts on it. What would it take tonight on Raw to make you come in tomorrow and give it an A+? What is the one thing one big thing that you could see tonight, and you can't say Sting, that'll
do it.
But what is one thing that you could either see as a culmination of storylines or something new that would get you excited?
The double heel turn. We talked about this a bit last night while we were watching the pay-per-view. You probably didn't watch the match, but Roman was being a smug, just jerk in the ring.
He was being a heel that whole match.
Yes.
Heel. Everything he did was heel. He rolled out how many times? 3 times? And a low blow?
Yeah.
He's heel all the way now. It's done.
No.
And you know how you know he's heel? Because guess which announcer had his back the whole time?
JBL.
The whole time.
Now, here's the thing about Roman Reigns taking a heel turn of any way. He has to cut the promo.
That's where I worry.
He has to cut a heel promo on the crowd because you can't roll with the Usos right now, who are probably the second biggest face tag team. You can't roll with those guys and treat it as, oh, I'm the good guy.
Well,
or not a good guy.
He kind of set that up before,
Not
like
a
when
bad
the
guy.
Usos were like,
Just the
"Hey,
guy.
we got your back." He's like, "I don't need y'all. It's one versus all."
Yeah, but then you can't have them come defend him, and you can't have those two involved in any way with Roman Reigns if he's going to be a heel.
Jay's idea, I'm starting to think, 6-man tag match tonight. AJ and Gallows and Anderson, the Good Brothers,
God, I hate that.
versus Usos, Roman Reigns. Roman just snaps and spears the Nikes out of everyone.
All right.
Destroys, like something happens in the match. Roman takes a walk around, like trying
Well,
to
it's odd because
recoup.
the same argument, though, can be made for AJ Styles.
Right.
You know?
Well, that's, I think, why you were suggesting double heel turn.
Yes.
You see Roman, and maybe what it is that AJ does embrace the dark side and embrace the Bullet Club and does something to win the match in a heel way. And Roman's reaction to it is maybe taking out the Usos.
I mean, hey, every time they have a major player make a heel turn, and some of the biggest heel turns of the past God knows how long have been double heel turns. Watch your history.
I don't think you
Bret
see
Hart,
AJ
Stone
turn.
Cold.
I think if anything, you see something like that happen where Roman ends the match or does something very heelish, and the Usos step in and they're like, "Bro, chill out, bro," and that's what makes them flip the switch on them. Is when they're trying to get him to calm down and stop doing that kind of stuff. I don't think AJ turns, though. I wouldn't be surprised if AJ goes with the Usos and Reigns goes with the Bullet Club, because Reigns is a heel right now. And AJ is a face right now.
All right, now, if something like that happens, will you come in tomorrow excited about it? Going into Raw, are you excited right now?
No. What? About what?
I'm always hopeful until about an hour and a half in.
Yeah, but I think
they'll open the show, and that's going to set the pace.
Now, look, I've said it before, and I will always say it. I don't want to be like 90% of the internet who continues to say how bad the product is, yet still watches and still talks about it. I don't want to be that guy, but I feel like I'm being put in a position where I have to be that guy because none of it makes sense right now. And there's nothing logical about it. And if tonight they have even one storyline that comes full circle that I can get with, I will be so happy tomorrow. If it's the women's championship storyline, if we get a good Vince Russo swerve in there somewhere, if Charlotte leaves the help of her father, if one of the belts gets on the line in a good story and changes hands tonight, that's the other thing. If we see a title, even if it's the U.S. title, change hands tonight, I will be ecstatic tomorrow. Even if they do that in hour 2, and then by hour 3 we have a crappy 6-man tag match between the Usos and Roman Reigns and what should be the Bullet Club, and that ends clean somehow, and they go off without a cliffhanger, even if the belt changes in the second hour, I will be happy. That's what's going to make me happy.
Well, I got bad news for both of y'all, because you're really going to be pissed tonight and more confused at the fact that Stephanie and Shane will not argue in any way tonight. It'll be a love fest between those two. I promise. Mark it. They will not. There will be no conflict with those two tonight. None at all.
Now, if it
maybe subtle, like between the lines conflict, but on
you're
camera.
saying-
I'm saying they will not. They will continue like they went off the air last night.
So your limit is passive aggressive.
I'm not saying I like that. I'm saying that's happening.
If they stay under passive aggressive, you're correct. But if they go over passive
I
aggressive,
think you know what I'm saying. If it's like obvious sarcasm or clearly there, I don't think they'll have any type of legitimate conflict tonight at all.
I actually agree with that.
I think there's going to be a little of that brotherly jabbing, but nothing like over the top. They'll save that for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too.
You just said a few minutes ago you think they're going to come out and argue with each other.
Well,
and,
I didn't say.
all
I
hell's
said
going to break
interrupt.
loose.
I said interrupt.
Yeah, interrupting I think would
Yeah.
be different.
What you-
Because that's essentially what happened last night.
Yeah,
Like
they're trying to upstage each other. So
right. They're jockeying for position. All right, last question. Last question before we wrap the whole thing up. Do we see Triple H tonight?
no.
No.
I think we do. I think we see Triple H with Stephanie at some point tonight.
We see Lesnar tonight.
Do we?
We're doing a podcast. You can't roll your eyes. Nobody knows that you were
The only reason I'm excited that Lesnar's coming back tonight,
Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman. Otherwise, I've been saying this. Let Brock go off and do
what's he
whatever
doing?
Brock does.
What's Brock doing?
No one knows.
Fulfilling a contractual obligation to appear. Like that's pretty much it.
Is he coming back for Dean Ambrose
No.
since Chris Jericho's out of that now?
Well,
Maybe.
there is that now that we have that news about Jericho. But how long are we? What do we got? Like 2 pay-per-views until SummerSlam?
Let's see.
No, we got
Extreme
3,
Rules,
right?
Money in the Bank, and I think that's it.
No, I think there's one more in there because I believe SummerSlam happens in August, but it is early August, so it could be one of those.
Let's see here.
Weird situations that we
WWE
have.
Pay-per-view
Yeah, the
schedule.
magic of Google. Who's going to get to it first?
Probably you because this computer sucks.
WWE pay-per-view.
Extreme Rules, NXT Takeover, Money in the Bank, Battleground, SummerSlam. So you're
Battleground. So we have 3 pay-per-views between now and SummerSlam. You can't set up the Brock Lesnar SummerSlam program now, and I don't think he's going to do Extreme Rules or Battleground.
I don't know what he's. I didn't know he was going to be there tonight. I have no clue what he does.
That was on the preview.
So then the Wyatts were on the.
Hey, I'm just telling you
Payback
that's what's on the sheet here. The dummy sheet I am looking at.
Yeah,
right,
it's definitely
Brock
a dummy sheet if you're looking at it.
Lesnar. Let's see. I'm going to try to pull this up now, too. I don't see anything here about him
Does
setting
he?
to.
Well, he can't. The world heavyweight title picture is too clouded for him to be in there.
yeah, so if
He
it's-
makes no sense in that.
Let's see here.
But he also makes no sense for him to show back up and not want that.
Can Shane and Stephanie McMahon exist as Raw showrunners? Will Styles and Reigns go to new extremes tonight? How will Natalya respond to the Chicago screwjob? Who will be next to challenge The Miz? What's next for the tag
There it
division?
is. Brock Lesnar and The Miz.
No way.
Yep,
no, he
there
is
it
so
is.
far above the IC
Going
belt.
for the belt, the IC belt.
No.
Make it important again.
No, no.
Where do you put him
no.
then, Greg?
What? I don't know that he's.
I think he's over a meaningless feud with Dean Ambrose.
I don't know for a fact he shows up.
Maybe he just shows up tonight. Literally, Paul Heyman cuts a promo about nothing, and then, hey, that was my appearance for the month
No,
of
that's
May.
not how it works. There's no way they do that.
I don't know that he shows up.
It's The Miz, man.
It cannot be the Miz.
It's The Miz.
It absolutely
What else
cannot.
makes sense? What else? I'm not even saying that makes sense, but what else makes sense?
What makes sense is for him to show
A
up,
triple threat match at Extreme Rules for
hit
the
a
big belt?
hit a contractual obligation
Oh
to
my
get his
gosh.
paycheck, cuts a promo. He doesn't even have to cut a promo. He's got to dance around in the ring and smirk while Paul Heyman cuts a promo on somebody.
Yep.
On The Miz.
It's not the Miz.
Being reported now, the plan is for WrestleMania 33, Brock Lesnar versus The Rock.
Yeah, but they also said 2 weeks after the last WrestleMania, they said Triple H versus The Rock.
I don't know. I'm just
do you seriously start setting up WrestleMania 33 now? I mean, does he come out and cut a promo on The Rock?
No.
Well,
that
he's
what
not
we-
coming out and cutting anything.
No, well, like I said, okay. But when I say he cuts a promo, basically what I'm saying is Paul Heyman cuts a promo with him smirking behind him.
Yeah, who knows?
The Miz, dude.
Well, he's going to have a SummerSlam match. We're looking way too far ahead. He's going to have a SummerSlam match.
He's due for his May appearance ahead of SummerSlam.
That's what I'm saying. So he comes out and does something.
He's going to win the belt, the Intercontinental belt.
Not going to
at
win.
Extreme Rules, and then he's going to hold both the belts, World Heavyweight Championship and Intercontinental.
Look,
after
they're not
winning
paying
that.
Brock any extra money, and he has 3 appearances or so left on the year. They're not burning one up for
No.
Extreme Rules.
So they're burning one up for him to cut a meaningless promo?
No. They've already got one. He's already got certain dates. Like
That he has to show
X
up.
number of Raws, X number of pay-per-views. So if they've got a Raw that's sitting there, it's milk in their fridge right now.
No.
It's going to expire at the end of the month, whether they use it or not. So why not use it right now to fill their metaphorical bowl of bootios?
I'm not saying that the WWE enjoys making sense, but him cutting a meaningless promo would not make any sense, and they wouldn't do that.
Yes, they would.
Nope.
If you owe
Nope.
Brock $2 million,
Nope.
whether he shows up for work
Right,
or not,
right.
you're going to get him to show up for work.
No.
Yeah, and even if he just comes out to cut some promo on some jabroni, maybe the social outcasts have an issue with him.
Oh, my gosh.
Hey, it makes as much sense as him fighting for the IC title. On that note, we are going to wrap up the Raw Meat podcast. We will try to do another one tomorrow to recap what happens at Raw
What's
tonight.
getting Jay Security up to?
You know what? This is we're way too far.
Get hit with Cadillac doors
That's what he needs to come out tonight and do. Destroy another Cadillac and just leave.
and hit a kid in the stands with the door.
It is the Raw Meat podcast. Jay Whatley over there, Puff over there. I'm Greg Adams, and we will do another one tomorrow.
Suplex City, bitch.